Well, I want to get to this question next, but I actually checked out a small clip. I didn't get to see the whole thing of Let's Toast Media. He had a video kind of the preview of the game, but he mentioned that this game is going to be Michigan State Super Bowl, so they are going to
Absolutely.
absolutely be up and ready to roll. So I agree with you, Dre, as far as I think Michigan is going to come out right, hair on fire, playing just intense, ready to execute. But I think Michigan State's going to do the same. Now,
Sure.
what does an A plus game for Michigan versus a A plus game versus Michigan State look like? It probably is still at least a 2 touchdown win for Michigan,
Sure.
but will Michigan State be able to sustain that level of play? Who knows?
That would
And
be
what
the
does an
part.
early mistake look like, right? What and because Peyton Thorne, he's thrown I think 7 interceptions this season. So what does a pick in the first quarter look like? I mean, I can imagine night game for at Michigan, that place is going to be rocking if something like that happens.
Yeah, and you know what it comes down to, Des? It is this is one of those games where you just want to put your foot on their neck. I mean, to be as blunt as I can, put your foot on their neck as quick as possible, and to essentially sustain that, intensity for throughout the game. You really do. I mean, like because at least probably to through the third quarter. Like you really constantly have to put that pressure on because MSU is going to come out there, ready to play and they're going to fight. But because Michigan is so much better. At least last year, like I on paper last year, Michigan was a better team. I thought Michigan was a better team going into the game. Even after they lost, I still thought Michigan was a better team.
Hmm.
But at least last year, MSU had this. I don't want to use the word magic, but they had this formula of finding ways to stay in football games and grind it out. And if they had a window to win games they weren't supposed to win or 50-50 shot, they were able to do it. Like I said, with that razor thin margin of error, right? On that high wire act, essentially. This year is not going their way at all. Then also had I don't want to use the word generational. That's pretty far fetched, but a really, really, really good running back in K9 last year. So it's a lot different. They don't have nearly that same winning formula. In fact, they're not winning much at all this year. All right, just being honest. But you still just never know, man, because both these teams, like you said, MSU, this is their Super Bowl. They have their season is essentially over in terms of winning anything significant. Can't win a conference. You know, no, well, maybe they can mathematically. I think they're pretty much done.
Yeah, that's not happening.
And not happening, but can't win a conference. Not going to play in the Big Ten Bowl. This is it, right? So I don't know, man, but I just think Michigan just has too much for them.
Yeah, for me, all the motivation factors check off on Michigan's side in regards to avoiding an upset. This not being Rutgers coming in for a noon game, traveling to Maryland after beating them 5 or 6 straight years by 3 or 4 touchdowns, that sort of thing. Because regardless of how much better Michigan is right now, significantly better, they just are. Better football team, better program. They got a championship to play for. So that should keep them laser focused first and foremost, that they've got a mission. We need to get better and better and better and better every week, put our, foot on the throat and keep going until we get to Columbus, number one. Number two, it's Michigan State. So even if they beat Michigan State 10 years in a row, I would think, depending on the player, there might still be extra motivation or something extra there. There certainly is for the fan bases. There certainly is for the folks that you would know much better than me in the state of Michigan, because I've never lived there, of regardless of what the records are, the past history, that there's going to be something extra there. And then the third one is what we talked about, is that Michigan State has had success. So you're Michigan, you're better, you're playing for a championship. They're an also ran, but they've beaten you the last 2 years. And if you want to go back before that, if you've been around the state, growing up in the state, been in high school, then 10 out of 14? You want to do something about that and do it emphatically.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And Jim Harbaugh is typically not a run up the score type of coach, I could definitely see him running the score up against Michigan State. Maybe if there's only two possible games that would ever happen. This one in Ohio State, and I'm not sure yet. He might be just kind of business as usual. Hey, we expected to win. No need to try to embarrass the opponent. But I feel like a little part of him, especially after losing the last two, he's yet to beat Mel Tucker. I could easily see this being one of those games where potentially he does kind of run it up a little bit. We'll see.
I'll continue to harp on the preseason, the media day before the season started. Just the fact, you got to think about how Harbaugh, how him and his players like to talk at media day and pretty much before any kind of game. It's rare where they really, at least before the game, they really talk directly about an opponent in terms of their motivations. A lot of times it's very bland, measured, respectful, but
the PR training, that's
right. The fact that they said it verbatim, we know we need to beat those guys. I think that was Eric Goff. If I'm not mistaken. I think that was Eric Goff's exact words. We know we need to beat those guys. Harbaugh making it a point to say, we need to beat Michigan State. Really, I think the first time he's ever really said it like that. It like just putting it out there. No, back way of saying it. Just outright putting it bluntly. We understand the urgency of beating those guys. I think even one Michigan player said, something about an MSU drill, almost similar to Ohio State drill. Someone even said something like that. So I think this is one of those special years where they're pretty pissed off about last year. Look, they had a better season, but that loss to MSU was kind of like a bitter taste in their mouth, right? Because they were the better team. And even though it all worked out in the end, it's still hold on a second, we shouldn't have lost that football game. And I believe that is a motivation, like you said, Des, to not only win, but to prove a point. You were never better than us to begin with.
Well, and if everything plays out exactly the same last year, except you end up beating Michigan State, you're the 1 seed and you're playing Cincinnati in the first round.
Not different.
And you're probably walking to a national championship, right? Because you look at even how Alabama ran the ball against Cincinnati, you were much better of a running team than Alabama was. So then you're talking, you got one shot to win it. That changes a lot, right? So I'm sure that comes into play as far as this game as well, of trying to really put it to Michigan State. I mean, it's a rivalry, and I think too for Jim Harbaugh he could use another win as far as with his rivals. I know, obviously last year was a terrific year. That was still, if you throw Penn State in there, 2-1. As far as the rivalries go, but you definitely want to get this one. Definitely want to get it.